Well, good evening. Ira Epstein with your Spider ETF stock market wrap-up, and this wrap-up is for the evening of Monday. And we're at the 23rd of September, 2024, fall. Can you believe it's fall? It's hard to believe. I'm looking out my window. It's just after 7, and it's dark. So I hate it. I like when you look out the window and it's bright, and this is what I don't like about Chicago, is the fall season and winter, especially with those gray skies. Interesting times for the weekend. I drove up to South Bend, Indiana, and went to the Notre Dame game, and I walk in. As you go to the inn, look at the statue. I'm with my buddy, and statue is of him, Ira Epstein together, and 2 other players. I mean, he's royalty there. So the band at halftime, they're playing his songs, his music. It was quite an experience. Good friend, and it was wonderful. I haven't been to a college football game, I was thinking about it, since 1968. So it's been a long time for me, and that was fun. Hot, but fun, and that's why I brought it up. Hot. Whoa, thought I was going to faint in the heat there. Okay, let's talk about the heat we'll deal with, and we'll come back to the prices here, okay? We've got a bunch of reports. Redbook Group's going to update their weekly retail sales tomorrow. The Case-Shiller 20 Metro home prices coming out at 8. The Conference Board, their confidence index, will be coming out at 9 o'clock. The Richmond Fed going to update their monthly manufacturing numbers, and that's coming out at 9. And API numbers at 3:30. Then we have another thing. I brought this chart up from SeasonX, all right? It's one of the charting services that I use. And it's about seasonality. So, by the way, none of these are wrong. All these services track what the markets have done in seasonality, and you can print it out 5 years, 10, 15, 20, 30, whatever you want. And some of them do a lot more than that even. And as we take a look together, you can see how this market has been falling. This is normally the weakest month of the year. Does it look like it was that weak? You certainly started off the first week plunging. But then we came back. Why? Why didn't the seasonals work? And it's not hard to figure out after the fact. We had the Fed go into their rate cut cycle, and the market started anticipating it. So this little bleep you had over here might have been where you went up, and instead of down, and remember, this is about momentum. This isn't about prices. That's it. We know the market's at all-time highs, so this is not prices going to all-time high. It's what's momentum do at that point. Always remember what you're looking at on a chart. And the weakest part of September into October is right ahead of us. Will it even play out? It could. We don't have a lot more to hold it if the seasonality wants to grab hold. Now, the next event after that is the one right here we have to be watching, which is the election. Who's going to win? Right now, Harris looks to me in the polls like she's ahead of Trump at this point in time. So, could be getting a whole new guard there. Ex-President Trump said if he loses this one, he is out. He will not run for president again. Of course not. How could he? He'd be too old, as President Biden's too old to have run. So, we need younger people in America to be running. I'd like to see younger people. I'm talking 50s, 40s. I think that would be very good. Now, Boeing. This afternoon, Boeing gave its last and best offer. Don't believe that. But it's a good offer. 30% wage increase. So where were they over the past 4 years? They were 25%. That's an increase. They're going to restore the annual bonus, something they didn't have. That wasn't in the last proposal. Instead of a $3,000 signing bonus, there's $6,000. They're going to increase the 401 contribution, but they did not move, from what I can see, on the vesting period where you go from point to point in the program. So I don't know if this is enough, but you're close. I thought it would be 32%, as I told you, on wages. So while they say latest and last Boeing offer, if it's still 40% the unions want, this is out the window. I don't know what happens at that point. But everybody's got to reach a compromise. This should be brought up for a vote to the members. They were adamant at 95% that they weren't going to accept the last one. It's hard to know if this is going to bring you home any better. When we look at how the stock indices did, you know, many went to all-time highs today in the S&P, the Dow, they did that. BND still dropping. Amazon came back, as did Netflix a little bit. We saw that NVIDIA did gain a fraction. Tesla has been on a tear to the upside recently. I like the metals, and they are still holding. You're making new lows in AMC. It just keeps sinking away. I don't see why people would want to own that. Boeing got a $3 jump off that offer once it broke in the news. You're still breaking down in Microsoft, and you're getting to that area that I liked longer term, Rivian, just not off the chart. Just because I happen to think the company will survive this and they'll be one of the good ones down the road. Uranium continues to move. It helped that obviously Microsoft and Constellation did a deal where 3 Mile Island Unit 1 is going to get recommissioned. I was reading today a Jefferies article as to how they say the pricing might go. They're assuming that Microsoft might enter into long-term pricing deal. It's a 10 or 15% over a going megawatt hour right now. Right now the hours are, I think a megawatt hour is $100 an hour, so maybe they'd offer a 10, 15% premium. Maybe that's part of how they pay for what this is. It's a joint deal. I don't know enough about it, but we'll find out what that does. So, one of the things I had told you over the weekend was Restoration Hardware, and obviously this market has taken off to the upside. People seem to like what it's looking like. The pattern of the chart is still higher lows, higher highs, but I don't like this big gap in here. That sort of bothers me. Can it hold on to that? I don't know. I realize their story's good. I like the setup of moving averages. They're not bad either in the chart. But I'm not keen on that big of a gap. Gaps like to get filled on charts. When do you see a gap that big that wasn't filled in the past? So from my point of view, you're not embedded, you're overbought, you're up here. I'd probably be saying wait on it. I was looking for this big breakdown for a year as we've been talking, Rivian. Got what I wanted. On the weekly chart, it looks a little better than it does here. Now, it's not a breakout to the downside. It could have been today had you been under Friday's close, which you were, but closed in the lower bottom of the range. You didn't do that. So you're trying to get back in there, but nothing's bullish long term. You're about to get the 18-day average to get under the 100, and that's a complete bearish setup. Why? Then you'd have the 18 under the 100 under the 2. So we'll see if the market's going to do that. CrowdStrike. I think it's gone up far enough, fast enough to have serious troubles. We talked last week it might go for the 200-day average or even the 100. Well, you got by the 200 today and you're getting thrown back and you're overbought. In uranium, again, I'm going to repeat, each time this thing is broken out under or over the Bollinger Band, it gets thrown back. I see no difference this time around, but I do see that I think that now we've got a bottom in place in the market, which is very exciting. In Dell, overbought, sideways action against the Bollinger Band. If you see the market take out the 1508 level, get nervous because it means you're probably coming back down. 111.98 to 111.13 would be my guess on it. In Linn, okay, we're starting to hold that 18-day average, the pullback. The trend went up again today. I think you'll see some people jumping in at 182.73 and saying, I'll risk about $1.50 to see what the market's got. If it can come down there, hold and go up, you could be back to that upper Bollinger Band at 191. So for $1.50, they might risk trying to make 8. In XHB, you're overbought. I'm not keen on an overbought part of that. I'd be a little careful up at that number. Same in XLF. A lot of these markets have made runs to the upside where they're running into resistance at upper Bollinger Bands and they're overbought. Again, you're in that weakest part of September. September hasn't worked, but if it does, as the market goes, a lot of these stocks go with it. You're not embedded here. You're up to the upper Bollinger Band in the industrial part. Get nervous if you take out 132.44. Probably means you're going back to the 18-day average. XLE, the energy sector, higher lows, higher high. Now you're at a battleground, the 18-day average to the 200, and you're overbought. Obviously, the markets didn't jump today on what's going on between Lebanon and Israel. I watched the NBC News tonight. They said that Iran is probably no more than 2 weeks away from having enough nuclear material for a nuclear bomb. So I didn't say they have a nuclear bomb, they'd have the material, is what they're saying. And that gives leverage to Iran in the Mideast in a way that it's never had once it develops that bomb. People have talked for years, does Israel have that bomb? I've heard that decades. I don't know if there's reality to it or not. If there is, I don't see anybody checking their weapon systems. In GLD, higher lows, higher highs, okay. What about embedding? So both numbers are over 80 today. Both numbers were over 80 on Friday, and both numbers were over 80 on Thursday. So I contend that if the market's going to pull back here, it's probably going to find good buyers on that pullback. Not so in silver, still too overbought. Frankly, if the market takes out 27.92 and it made a challenge today to 27.93, you could be going back over here. You did have a bullish crossover where the 18-day average now is over the 100, so breaks towards that, in my opinion, if once you get away from being overbought or embed, either one would work for me, that becomes exciting on the long side. I don't think copper's going very far unless China can do something magical. And there is word that they're ready to unleash something dealing with interest rates. I don't know enough about it to talk about it. But if they do and the market likes what it is, the 100-day average at 44.58 to 44.71 is the target. I think the market's in trouble. If it gets under 43.01, it could go back and challenge the support here of the 18 and the 200-day average. It is overbought. In TLT, at what point does the market, through running the buy the rumor, get the rate cuts and the break? That's what I think you're in right here. So I'd be a little bit patient with that. In the dollar, if to continue the bearishness, it's got to get back underneath Friday's lows. If it can close over 28.20, it could cause some problems for those that are short the market in the near term. FXE is trying to break down lower highs, lower lows, and get back for support at 102.40. Close under that might be a little bearish, actually. So you put it together, we're in an interesting time. And I always love this time of the year for trading because things do get interesting. The people are back from the summer. We're going to go into a big event, the election, and we are right now talking about as well, how does Mike Johnson get a bill passed to hopefully not shut the government down on the 30th. That's right around the corner. My videos, every morning when I put these out, futures and spider, the charts will look like this. They're going to have 5 studies on them. I teach you the studies as we go along. I'll look at daily and weekly charts, trying to come up with a game plan for you, and you take it the rest of the way. My goal is to point out the opportunities as I see them, and you take it from there. I'll do special reports that are included, trade recommendations I follow from the beginning to end, and you get them in the spider ETFs well before I even record that video for you. So how do you get it? You go to iraepstein.com, research. You can move your cursor right to the top here. You'll see an icon. And with that, I'm Ira. You have yourself a good day. I will catch up with you all first thing in the morning. Take care.